Tempe, Arizona, July 2025. By the middle of July 2025, 21-year-old Heston Cobb, better known online as Heston James, had over 1.6 million TikTok followers. His niche? Unscripted, high-risk public prank videos. To fans, he was a fearless comic genius. To others, he was a ticking time bomb, escalating with every post. What made him viral was not just his over-the-top antics, but the way he blurred the line between comedy and chaos. He wasn't just making people laugh. He was confusing them, inserting himself into real-life workplaces, pretending to be managers, officials, or technicians. On TikTok, the numbers were staggering. Corporate check-in prank, 7.9 million views. Firing employees at McDonald's prank, 5.3 million views. Undercover mechanic goes rogue, 12.4 million views. But off-screen, in Tempe, real businesses were filing real complaints. Brain, the rise of a prank king. Born and raised in Scottsdale, Arizona, Heston was a high school dropout with a dream of making it big on social media. By 19, he'd figure out the formula. Find a public space, cause confusion, get reaction. Film it all. "I'm not doing this to hurt people," Heston once said during a 2024 interview on the Unfiltered Vibes podcast. "I'm doing it to wake people up. Life's too boring. Let's make it weird." And weird it got. One video from early July 2025 showed him walking into a Chipotle with a clipboard, approaching the staff, and loudly claiming he was from corporate quality assurance. Within minutes, customers were filming, workers looked baffled, and police were eventually called. The video went viral overnight, but so did the backlash. At approximately 3:20 p.m., Heston entered the store dressed in slacks, a badge labeled Corporate Auto Audit, and a Bluetooth headset. He was followed by two associates wearing matching uniforms, equipped with clipboards and GoPros. According to staff, he walked straight into the employee break room and began conducting inspections, filming employees without permission. One mechanic, speaking to local media under anonymity, said, "He asked me how many oil changes I did that day, then told me I was below quota and needed to start over. I thought it was some HR thing until I noticed one guy recording us. I told him to get out." Heston didn't leave. He stayed for nearly 8 minutes, trying to audit shelves, accusing a customer of having counterfeit brake pads, and then yelling, "This location is being shut down for fraud." Customers began leaving. Employees called Tempe PD. That same night, the footage hit TikTok with the caption, "Corporate caught them lacking at Pep Boys Clown Face Police Scarlight hashtag fired hashtag audit prank hashtag Heston James." The video reached over 2.8 million views in 12 hours. But this time, the comments weren't all laughs. "This isn't funny anymore. You're harassing people. Didn't you just pull this at Chipotle last week?" It's a matter of time before this dude gets arrested. Local businesses started tagging the Tempe Police Department, asking for intervention. And then came the next blow. July 22nd, 2025, just 48 hours after the Pep Boys prank, Heston received a call, not from an agent, not from a sponsor, but from the Tempe Police Department. They had reviewed the footage. The mechanic's testimonies lined up. The business had filed a formal complaint. At 8:45 a.m., a warrant for Heston's arrest was signed. Charges included burglary in the 3rd degree, for unlawful entry into employee areas, 2 counts of criminal impersonation, 5 counts of disorderly conduct, 5 counts of criminal trespass. Tempe PD began tracking his location through digital means, including the IP address used for video uploads. But Heston wasn't home. He was filming again. On July 23rd, 2025, less than a day after his warrant went public, Heston was already at another auto shop. This time, a Jiffy Lube on Broadway Road. According to footage recovered later by investigators, he walked into the service bay with a makeshift employee badge, claiming he was a regional technician sent by headquarters. One witness recalled, "He told us our oil change protocol was outdated and tried to teach a new method. That's when I noticed his friend filming through glass." What Heston didn't know was that Tempe PD had already alerted nearby businesses. When a Jiffy Lube employee whispered to a coworker, "That's the guy they warned us about," They quietly pressed a panic button under the front desk. Within minutes, officers surrounded the premises. As Heston stood near the checkout counter, still smiling for the camera and boasting about corporate training, two plainclothes officers entered to the rear garage bay, handcuffs already drawn. The TikTok star turned to face them, confused, still half in character, and froze. The camera kept rolling. According to official bodycam footage obtained by Arizona Central, Heston barely resisted. When two officers approached from the side entrance, they announced, "Tempe PD, you're under arrest. Hands behind your back." Still wearing a makeshift company badge, Heston turned and smirked, thinking it was all part of the act. "Nice. You got extras? That's funny, bro." But when the cuffs clamped tight and the badge was ripped off his chest, Heston realized this wasn't skit. "Wait, this isn't part of the video." The recording continued, even as he was escorted out through the garage and placed in the back of a police SUV. The video would never make it to TikTok, but his mugshot would go viral instead. Tempe Police Headquarters, 11:10 a.m., July 23, 2025. Heston was booked on 7 counts, including third-degree burglary, criminal impersonation, disorderly conduct, trespassing. His mugshot, featuring the 21-year-old looking dazed, shirt collar still creased from the prank uniform, was released to the public that afternoon. Within hours, Heston James trended on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. Mobile phone with arrow TikTok comment. "This ain't a prank no more." Mobile phone with arrow Twitter. "He was just trying to make people laugh." Is jail really the answer? But public sympathy was split. Some followers started #FreeHeston. Others said, "About time." And then came the real twist, his bail hearing, July 24th, 2025, Maricopa County Court, 8:30 a.m. Heston appeared in front of a judge via video call from the holding facility. He wore a maroon inmate jumpsuit and looked pale. The court noted his prior warnings from earlier prank incidents, particularly the Chipotle impersonation, and denied immediate bail. His attorney argued for leniency. "My client is a content creator. He had no criminal intent. These were pranks, not malicious actions." But prosecutors pointed out he repeatedly trespassed after prior warnings. He impersonated corporate agents in 4 separate businesses. He filmed private employees and customers without consent. The judge agreed to delay bail review until formal charges were submitted by the county attorney. And that meant one thing. Heston was staying behind bars. TikTok exploded. News headlines lit up. Influencer commentary shows couldn't keep up. When clout goes too far, the Heston James arrest, Vice, viral star, or career criminal? Tim Z, should prank culture be regulated? MSNBC. One former friend of Heston's, fellow influencer JD Comedy, posted a reaction video. What the public saw shocked even Heston's biggest fans. In one clip, Heston berates a young Chipotle worker for under-seasoned rice, slamming a spoon on the counter. In another, he threatens to fire an elderly tire technician who pleads that he's on medication and can't take stress. One disturbing moment shows him entering a women's restroom at a retail store as part of a gender-neutral facility's prank. That final clip caused an immediate uproar. By evening, hashtags like #CancelHeston and #Digital Consent Matters began trending on Twitter and TikTok. Tempe PD acknowledged the leak and confirmed they had received the raw files from the whistleblower. Charges could be amended based on their contents. Just after midnight on July 30th, 2025, TikTok finally issued a statement. Due to violations of our community guidelines regarding harassment, impersonation, and non-consensual content, the account at Heston James has been permanently suspended. The page, once home to millions of likes and millions of followers, now read, "Warning, this account has been removed for policy violations." Influencer drama channels were ablaze. Studio Microphone, this is the biggest fall from grace I've seen on this app. Studio Microphone, what's the line between content and crime? And then came one final shock. Around 1 p.m. on July 30th, an Instagram story went live from a backup account tied to Heston's name. The image showed a handwritten note, photographed on jail stationery. The caption read, he wanted to say this to his fans, straight from Tempe jail. The note read, this isn't the end. They want me to disappear. But I'll be back. We all make mistakes. I just made mine in public. I'm not a criminal. I'm just a guy who pushed it too far. It was reposted over 12,000 times in under an hour. Some fans rallied. Others rolled their eyes. The public was split. But behind bars, Heston was panicking. Why? Because he had just received notice that his TikTok ad revenue and merchandise payouts had been frozen by Stripe and Shopify, pending the outcome of both legal cases. Late night, July 30th, 2025, Tempe jail. As the lights dimmed in cell block C, a jail officer handed Heston a printed document. It was from the Office of the U.S. Attorney for Arizona. Across the top, in bold, preliminary inquiry, false representation of federal authority, U.S. Code Section 912. He read it once, then twice. His hands began to shake. The prank was over, but the federal government had just entered the chat. On July 30th, Maricopa County prosecutors met with attorneys from the U.S. Attorney's Office for Arizona to discuss potential overlapping charges. While no formal federal indictment had been filed yet, the preliminary inquiry noted that Heston's pranks could violate 18 U.S. Code Section 912, specifically, falsely acting as a federal employee or officer. Heston had allegedly posed as a Department of Transportation worker, a health code inspector, a federal compliance officer during one now-deleted prank inside a CVS store. His lawyer, Marlon Reyes, knew the risk. If the feds move forward, he's looking at 3 years minimum per count, and they may push for it just to make an example. But Reyes had one card left to play. On the afternoon of July 30th, 2025, Reyes met with Maricopa County officials and negotiated a plea deal. The condition, Heston would accept guilt for 3 misdemeanor charges, disorderly conduct, criminal impersonation, and trespass, in exchange for no jail sentence beyond time served, dismissal of felony burglary charge, immediate probation, mandatory community service, public apology to affected businesses. After nearly a week in custody, Heston agreed. The deal was signed at 4:43 p.m. that day. There would be no federal charges, for now. Hours later, a joint post went live on Instagram and YouTube from Heston's official backup team. I want to apologize to the workers, customers, and communities affected by my content. My intention was never to harm, but I acknowledge that my actions caused confusion, distress, and disruption. I take full responsibility. Moving forward, I will no longer create prank content that targets unsuspecting people or private businesses. Heston James, Cobb. The post received over 89,000 likes, but also heavy scrutiny. Some fans were relieved. Others didn't believe it. While Heston avoided prison time, he couldn't avoid the lawsuit. As of July 31st, 2025, the case Fry et al. V. Cobb remains active in Maricopa County Court. Pretrial motions are scheduled for August 12th, with 4 former employees seeking damages exceeding $800,000. In court filings, plaintiffs argue that the apology came too late and only under legal pressure. If found liable, Heston could face financial ruin. TikTok permanently banned his original account. YouTube demonetized his prank compilation videos. His merchandise shop was taken offline, and former sponsors cut ties. For millions of followers and viral clout, Heston had become digital poison. No platforms, no deals, no cameras, only consequences. His latest Instagram post now reads, "Rebuilding, not for views. For real, but only time will tell whether audiences will forgive or forget." The rise and fall of Heston James is more than a story about an internet prankster gone rogue. It's a stark reminder that virality has a price, and when content crosses into criminal behavior, the law watches just as closely as the viewers. He wanted to prank America. Now, America's justice system just pranked him back. Want more stories like this? Subscribe to the channel right now for more real, gripping, and unforgettable true crime episodes. We're bringing you stories that shock, intrigue, and demand answers every week. Another intriguing story drops soon. You won't want to miss it.